Rocket Raccoon. Rocket Raccoon first appeared in Marvel Preview number 7 in 1976, created by writer Bill Mantlo, who was inspired by the Beatles' song Rocky Raccoon. Initially, Rocket was part of a surreal sci-fi tale set on Halfworld, a planet run by genetically engineered animals and robots. He had no connection to the main Marvel universe and was considered too odd for mainstream use. After a brief appearance in Incredible Hulk number 271, Rocket disappeared for nearly 2 decades. Marvel didn't know how to integrate a gun-wielding raccoon into its world. In 2007, however, during the Annihilation Conquest event, writers Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning revived him. Rocket was folded into the Guardians of the Galaxy lineup, where his sarcastic humor, combat skills, and surprising depth made him indispensable. By 2014, he became a breakout star of the Guardians of the Galaxy film, voiced by Bradley Cooper, and helped transform the team into a billion-dollar franchise. Venom. Venom originated from a fan submission in 1982. Randy Schuler, a Marvel reader, pitched Spider-Man wearing a sleek black costume made of unstable molecules. Marvel bought the idea for $220 but shelved it until Secret Wars number 8 in 1984 when Spider-Man donned the black suit. Initially, the symbiote was just a stylish costume enhancement. Soon, however, it was revealed to be alive, clinging to Peter Parker and corrupting his behavior. Spider-Man rejected it in a church tower, and Marvel thought the story was finished. Writer David Michelinie and artist Todd McFarlane later revived the idea by pairing the symbiote with Eddie Brock, a disgraced journalist who hated Spider-Man. The fusion of Eddie's bitterness with the alien's grudge created Venom, a hulking, monstrous villain with Spider-Man's powers but no moral restraint. Venom's first full appearance in Amazing Spider-Man number 300 became an instant success. What began as a fan's costume idea evolved into one of Marvel's most famous anti-heroes, spawning countless spin-offs, solo titles, and movies. Taskmaster. Taskmaster debuted in 1980 in Avengers number 195-196. He was designed as a one-off villain whose gimmick was photographic reflexes, the ability to mimic any fighting style after watching it once. His skull mask, hooded cloak, and arsenal of copied weapons made him visually memorable, and readers immediately responded. Instead of being discarded after one story, Taskmaster became a recurring figure. Over time, Marvel repositioned him as a mercenary trainer, running combat schools for henchmen and occasionally working as a hired gun. His flexible role, sometimes villain, sometimes reluctant ally, made him useful in countless stories. By the 1990s and 2000s, he was a frequent cameo opponent for Spider-Man, Daredevil, Deadpool, and the X-Men. His adaptability also made him popular in video games and animation, where he served as a multi-movie boss fight. By the time he appeared in the Black Widow film in 2021, Taskmaster had built a 4-decade career from what was originally a disposable antagonist, Deadpool. Deadpool was introduced in 1991 in New Mutants number 98. Artist Rob Liefeld designed him, and Fabian Nicieza wrote him as a mercenary assassin sent to kill Cable. The name Wade Wilson and the design itself were deliberate riffs on DC's Deathstroke, Slade Wilson. Originally, Deadpool was a serious villain with enhanced healing and ninja weapons. He was not intended to last beyond a few issues. However, fan interest grew and Marvel began experimenting with him. Writers Joe Kelly, Gail Simone, and Christopher Priest added his signature traits: chaotic humor, unstable personality, and the ability to break the fourth wall. Deadpool became a parody of superhero conventions, mocking his own writers and narrators while fighting absurd battles. What started as a copycat villain became a cultural phenomenon, leading to best-selling solo comics, endless team-ups, and blockbuster films led by Ryan Reynolds. Gwenpool. Gwenpool began in 2015 as nothing more than a joke cover. Marvel released a series of Gwen Stacy variant covers, one of which depicted her wearing Deadpool's costume with the pun name Gwenpool. At the time, she had no backstory, no personality, and no comic series. Fans, however, began asking about her adventures, forcing Marvel to create them retroactively. She was introduced in a Howard the Duck backup story before receiving her own title, The Unbelievable Gwenpool. Writers decided she was not Gwen Stacy at all, but Gwendolyn Poole, a Marvel Comics fan from the real world who had somehow entered the Marvel Universe. This gave her unique narrative powers. She knew everyone's secret identities, treated superhero life like a game, and could manipulate comic book conventions from within. She jumped between panels, spoke to editors, and rewrote storylines mid-page. What began as a throwaway gag became one of Marvel's strangest meta-experiments, lasting over 2 years and earning her a dedicated fan base. Dazzler. Dazzler was created in 1979 through a failed cross-promotion between Marvel Comics and Casablanca Records. The plan was to introduce a superhero who would simultaneously become a real-life pop star, complete with an album and a movie. Originally modeled after Grace Jones, then redesigned after Bo Derek, Dazzler debuted in X-Men number 130 during the Dark Phoenix saga. However, Casablanca stalled on producing music and the movie deal collapsed. Marvel had already launched her comic Dazzler number 1, which sold over 400,000 copies despite the failed cross-media push. With no record deal or film, Marvel repurposed her as a mutant singer struggling between stardom and superhero life. Over time, she fought bizarre villains, interacted with cosmic beings, and even battled Galactus. Despite her commercial origins as a disco gimmick, Dazzler remained relevant, later joining X-Men teams and earning a cult following. The Punisher. The Punisher debuted in Amazing Spider-Man number 129 in 1974. Originally, he was conceived as a one-off villain for hire tasked with killing Spider-Man. He carried a sniper rifle, wore a skull on his chest, and was written as a cold-blooded assassin. His creators, Jerry Conway, Ross Andru, and John Romita Sr., did not intend for him to last beyond that storyline. However, readers were fascinated by his uncompromising brutality. Unlike traditional heroes, Frank Castle executed criminals instead of arresting them, which resonated with fans amid rising concerns about crime in the 1970s and 1980s. Letters poured in, and Marvel gave him more appearances, eventually leading to miniseries and then multiple ongoing titles. By the late 80s, Punisher headlined 3 solo books and became the face of Marvel's anti-hero movement. Over time, his skull emblem was controversially adopted by law enforcement and military groups, forcing Marvel to rethink his symbolism. Despite starting as a disposable villain, the Punisher became one of Marvel's most polarizing and enduring characters. Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Girl was introduced in Marvel Superheroes number 8 in 1991 by writer Will Murray and artist Steve Ditko. She was intentionally designed to subvert superhero stereotypes, appearing as a cheerful teenager named Doreen Green with squirrel-like abilities, a tail, and a sidekick squirrel named Monkey Joe. In her debut, she teamed up with Iron Man and defeated Dr. Doom using an army of squirrels. After this comedic victory, she vanished from Marvel Comics for over a decade. In the early 2000s, she returned as a member of the Great Lakes Avengers, maintaining her upbeat personality and bizarre powers. A peculiar trend emerged. Squirrel Girl consistently defeated powerful villains, including MODOK, Deadpool, and even Thanos. Marvel confirmed these victories as canon, framing her as unbeatable. In 2015, she received her own ongoing series, The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, which ran for 58 issues, an unusually long run for a modern solo title. Originally dismissed as a joke, she became a beloved symbol of optimism and unconventional heroism. Spider-Ham. Spider-Ham, also known as Peter Porker, first appeared in Marvel Tales starring Peter Porker, The Spectacular Spider-Ham number 1 in 1983. Created by Tom DeFalco and Mark Armstrong, the character originated in a parody universe where Marvel heroes were reimagined as cartoon animals. His bizarre origin story involved being a spider bitten by a radioactive pig named May Porker, transforming him into a pig with spider powers. Surrounded by pun-based characters like Captain Americat and Hulk Bunny, Spider-Ham starred in his own 17-issue series before fading into obscurity in the 1990s. He occasionally reappeared in parody stories and alternate universes, but was never a mainstream figure until the Spider-Verse event in 2010 brought him back into the spotlight. In 2018, he appeared in the animated film Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, voiced by John Mulaney, which reintroduced him to a global audience. What began as a throwaway parody ended up as a staple of Marvel's multiverse storytelling. Howard the Duck. Howard the Duck first appeared in Adventure into Fear number 19 in 1973, written by Steve Gerber. He was never meant to be a central character. He stumbled into a Man-Thing story as a side gag, an irritable cigar-smoking duck from another dimension who talked like a cranky old man. Readers unexpectedly loved him, and letters poured in requesting more. Marvel brought him back in Giant-Size Man-Thing number 4, and by 1976 gave him a solo series. Adam Warlock. Adam Warlock was introduced in Fantastic Four number 6667 in 1967, initially known only as him. Created by a group of scientists called the Enclave, he was designed to be the perfect human specimen. His early appearances portrayed him as a golden-skinned, immensely powerful being with little purpose or direction. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby soon moved on, leaving the character undeveloped. Years later, writer-artist Jim Starlin reinvented him as Adam Warlock in Marvel Premiere and the Warlock series. Starlin gave him the Soul Gem, reshaped him into a messianic figure, and positioned him in sprawling cosmic sagas involving Thanos and the Infinity Stones. This transformation turned Warlock into one of Marvel's central cosmic figures, representing themes of identity, destiny, and inner conflict. Though his publication history has been sporadic, Warlock always resurfaces during major cosmic storylines. The MCU teased his existence in Guardians of the Galaxy Vol. 2 and finally introduced him fully in Guardians of the Galaxy Vol. 3, 2023. From a directionless perfect man experiment, Adam Warlock became one of Marvel's most vital cosmic players. Carnage. Carnage was created in the early 1990s when Marvel feared Venom's popularity might fade too quickly. Writer David Michelinie originally planned to kill off Eddie Brock and replace him with a darker, more dangerous symbiote host. The replacement was Cletus Cassidy, a sadistic serial killer. However, Marvel decided to keep Venom alive and introduced Carnage as an additional threat instead. In Amazing Spider-Man number 361, Brock escapes from prison, leaving behind a fragment of the symbiote that bonds with Cassidy. The result was Carnage, a blood-red tendril-covered monster embodying pure chaos. His violent debut forced Spider-Man and Venom into an uneasy alliance to stop him. The exaggerated brutality of Carnage fit perfectly with the 1990s comic boom, and readers embraced him. Soon he starred in his own arcs, including Maximum Carnage, and appeared across cartoons, games, and films. What began as a backup plan in case Venom faltered became one of Spider-Man's most notorious villains. Luke Cage. Luke Cage was created in 1972 during the height of the blaxploitation film era, when movies like Shaft and Superfly were box office hits. Marvel wanted a black hero who could ride the trend. Archie Goodwin, George Tuska, and John Romita Sr. quickly developed Luke Cage, a bulletproof ex-con in chains and a yellow shirt. The intent was not long-term relevance, but quick sales. Cage's debut series placed him in Harlem, running a hero-for-hire business and taking street-level cases. When sales slowed, Marvel paired him with Iron Fist and Power Man, an unlikely duo that revitalized both characters. Cage outlasted the trend that created him, eventually becoming a central figure in New Avengers and a prominent leader in Marvel's modern lineup. Netflix's Luke Cage series in 2016 cemented him as an enduring cultural icon. Morbius. Morbius first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man number 101 in 1971. At the time, the Comics Code Authority prohibited the use of supernatural creatures like traditional vampires. To work around this, writer Roy Thomas and artist Gil Kane created Michael Morbius, a scientist who attempted to cure his rare blood disease with an experimental serum. Instead, he transformed into a living vampire with pale skin, red eyes, and fanged features. By framing his condition as science-based rather than supernatural, Marvel sidestepped censorship. Morbius was never planned as a major recurring figure. His introduction was an experiment to test horror elements under the code. Reader response was strong enough to keep him appearing in Marvel Team Up, Adventure into Fear, and later solo series. Over the years, he became a cult character, remembered for his plasma-draining depiction in the 1990s Spider-Man animated series. Decades later, Sony adapted him into live action in Morbius, 2022, confirming his unexpected longevity. The Winter Soldier. The Winter Soldier began as a resurrection of Bucky Barnes, a character long considered permanently dead. For decades, Marvel treated Bucky's World War II death as sacred canon, a fixed point in comics. In 2004, writer Ed Brubaker pitched bringing Bucky back. Instead of rejection, Marvel approved it. Brubaker reimagined him as the Winter Soldier, a brainwashed Soviet assassin with a metal arm and erased memories. Introduced in Captain America number 1, 2005, he became a ruthless counterpart to Steve Rogers. The emotional weight came from Captain America realizing his friend was alive but corrupted. This reinvention revitalized the Captain America series, winning critical acclaim and giving Marvel one of its strongest espionage-driven narratives. Bucky even temporarily assumed the mantle of Captain America after Steve's apparent death. The Winter Soldier later became central to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, debuting in Captain America, The Winter Soldier, 2014, and continuing as a major figure in films and Disney Plus series. Miles Morales. Miles Morales was introduced in 2011 after the death of Ultimate Universe Peter Parker. Marvel needed a replacement Spider-Man quickly. Writer Brian Michael Bendis and artist Sarah Pichelli were tasked with creating someone new who could both honor Peter's legacy and feel modern. Around that time, actor Donald Glover's appearance in Spider-Man pajamas on Community and growing calls for diversity influenced the character's creation. Miles Morales, a black and Puerto Rican teenager from Brooklyn, was bitten by another genetically modified spider, giving him powers similar to Peter's but with his own unique abilities like camouflage and venom blasts. His debut in Ultimate Fallout number 4 was polarizing. Some fans embraced him while others rejected the idea of replacing Peter. Over time, Miles proved himself, merging into the main Marvel universe after the collapse of the Ultimate line. His popularity skyrocketed with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2018, making him a global icon and cementing his place as one of Marvel's most important modern characters. America Chavez. America Chavez was first introduced in 2011 in the miniseries Vengeance. At the time, Marvel had no detailed backstory or clear direction for her. She was conceived mainly as a stylish new addition, wearing a Stars and Stripes jacket, carrying a bold attitude, and showing flashes of power. Early appearances leaned more on her aesthetic and personality than any deep origin. Her role expanded in Young Avengers, where writers began to shape her identity and tease her unique multiverse traveling abilities. The breakthrough came in The Ultimates 2015, which fully explored her power to open star-shaped portals between dimensions. Later stories filled in her past, establishing that she came from the utopian parallel, a reality outside time and space, and was driven by tragedy to wander the multiverse. America's significance grew as one of Marvel's few queer Latina heroes, offering representation rarely seen in mainstream comics. Despite mixed reception to her solo books, her appearance in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness 2022 introduced her to a massive new audience. She-Hulk. She-Hulk was created in 1980 under urgent circumstances. Marvel feared that CBS, which was airing the Incredible Hulk TV show, might introduce a female Hulk character and claim the rights. To preempt this, Marvel quickly developed their own. Stan Lee and artist John Buscema created Jennifer Walters, Bruce Banner's cousin, in Savage She-Hulk #1. Critically injured and in need of a blood transfusion, she received Bruce's gamma-irradiated blood, which transformed her into She-Hulk. Unlike Bruce, Jennifer retained her intelligence and personality while transformed, giving Marvel a character who could balance legal drama with superhero action. Initially rushed and conventional, her series survived long enough to evolve. In the 1980s, under John Byrne's sensational She-Hulk, she became a self-aware, fourth-wall-breaking character with a humorous edge. This meta-style defined her for decades, making her one of Marvel's most unique and enduring heroes, later adapted into the Disney Plus series She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, 2022. Iron Patriot. Iron Patriot was introduced in 2009 during Marvel's Dark Reign storyline. Norman Osborn, fresh from killing the Skrull Queen and being hailed as a hero, was given control of the government's Hammer organization. To solidify his public image, Osborn needed a patriotic symbol. Writers Brian Michael Bendis and Matt Fraction combined Captain America's red, white, and blue symbolism with Iron Man's armor. Artist Adi Granov designed the new suit, which debuted in Dark Avengers #1. The Iron Patriot armor was essentially a propaganda tool, presenting Osborn as America's champion while he secretly manipulated events for personal power. Though initially a disguise for a villain, the design resonated with readers, and Marvel kept it in circulation even after Osborn's downfall. In later stories, James Rhodes took up the Iron Patriot mantle. The MCU adopted the armor in Iron Man 3, 2013, cementing its place in Marvel's visual iconography. Spider-Gwen. Spider-Gwen, also known as Ghost Spider, originated in 2014 during the Edge of Spider-Verse miniseries. Issue #2 posed a simple what if? What if Gwen Stacy, not Peter Parker, had been bitten by the radioactive spider? Writer Jason Latour and artist Robbie Rodriguez built her alternate world from scratch. In this universe, Gwen fronted a punk band, her father was a police captain, and Peter Parker tragically died, leaving her with guilt. Her design white hood, pink and teal accents, and sleek styling instantly stood out. The story was never intended to go beyond the one issue, but fan response was explosive. Within weeks, Spider-Gwen was trending online, inspiring cosplay, fan art, and overwhelming demand for more stories. Marvel quickly launched Spider-Gwen #1 in 2015, set on Earth 65. The series blended neon visuals, sharp writing, and a unique tone, cementing Gwen as a fresh, modern spider hero. She became a merchandising powerhouse and was later featured in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2018, where she reached global fame as a central character. Thank you for watching every Marvel character created by mistake. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and like the video to support the channel. Also, here's another video from our channel you might like.